3 days after the failed meeting, the Zephyrian High Council gathered in their great crystal chamber on the homeworld of Zephyr Prime. The chamber was a massive dome made of living crystal that amplified telepathic communication across the entire planet. When the council met, every Zephyrian could feel their thoughts. Commander Veltar stood before the 12 council members, his skin a deep purple color that showed his anger and disgust. "The humans are worse than we feared," he said. "Their mental chaos is so strong that it hurts to be near them. They cannot control their thoughts at all." High Counselor Thexara, an ancient Zephyrian whose crystal skin had grown permanent golden veins over centuries of life, leaned forward. "What do you recommend, Commander?" "Complete elimination," Veltar said without hesitation. "These humans are a disease that will spread if we let them live. Their chaotic thoughts could destroy the harmony we have built over 10,000 years." The council members shared thoughts instantly, discussing the matter at the speed of light through their mental connection. In seconds, they reached their decision. "It will be done," Thexara announced. "Send word to all fleet commanders. Hunt down every human ship in space. Find their colonies. Leave none alive." Kiranel stood in the corner of the chamber where junior officers were allowed to observe. Her mentor, War Commander Thexara, was the High Counselor's daughter and commanded the largest hunting fleet in Zephyrian space. Kiranel had been chosen to serve with her because of her skill at understanding alien languages and thoughts. But as she listened to the council order the death of an entire species, Kiranel felt something she had never experienced before. Her skin flickered between colors rapidly as conflicting emotions fought inside her mind. Was this what the humans called doubt? After the council meeting, Kiranel followed her mentor to the Fleet Command Center. War Commander Thexara was tall even for a Zephyrian, and her skin was permanently marked with the silver lines that showed her rank. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. "Prepare the hunting fleet," Thexara ordered her officers. "We launch immediately. The humans must be found and destroyed before their mental infection spreads." Kiranel watched as holographic displays showed the deployment of over 200 Zephyrian warships. Each ship was grown from living crystal and powered by cores that fed on stellar energy. They were beautiful and deadly, designed to hunt prey across vast distances. "Commander," Kiranel said carefully, "how do we know the humans will actually spread their chaos to other species? Maybe their thoughts only affect them." Thexara looked at her student with surprise. "Did you not feel their minds, young one? Their thoughts crash and scatter like broken glass. Just being near them for a few hours made several of our telepaths ill. Imagine what would happen if they made contact with a species that had no natural mental defenses." Kiranel nodded, but she couldn't forget something the human female had said. Dr. Amanda Hill had explained that human unpredictability helped them solve problems in new ways. She had called it creativity and said it was one of humanity's greatest strengths. The hunting fleet left Zephyr Prime and spread across the galaxy like a vast net. Each ship was equipped with sensors that could detect human neural patterns from several light years away. There would be no hiding for the children of Earth. Kiranel served aboard her mentor's flagship, a massive crystal vessel called the Harmony's Edge. As they traveled through hyperspace toward human colonies, she studied the intelligence reports about their prey. Humans were much younger than Zephyrians as a spacefaring species. They had only been traveling between stars for about a century, while Zephyrians had built their empire over 10 millennia. But humans had spread quickly, establishing colonies and research stations throughout their local region of space. The first attack came at a small mining colony on an asteroid, called Ceres 7. Kiranel watched from the bridge as the hunting fleet surrounded 3 human cargo ships that were loading mineral ore. "This will be quick," Thexara said. "The humans have no real weapons that can harm our ships." But as Kiranel watched the attack, she saw something that made her skin turn pale blue with shock. The human ships didn't try to fight the superior Zephyrian fleet. Instead, they positioned themselves between the warships and the mining station where families lived. "They're protecting their young," Kiranel whispered. She watched as human parents frantically loaded children onto the last evacuation shuttle. A human male stayed behind to operate the cargo ship's engines, trying to give his family more time to escape. When his ship was destroyed, Kiranel felt something break inside her chest. Target eliminated, Texara reported. Moving to the next location. Over the following weeks, the hunting continued. The Zephyrian fleet destroyed human outposts, research stations, and colony ships wherever they found them. Most humans tried to run rather than fight, but some stayed behind to help others escape. Kiranel began to study the intercepted human communications. As a translator, it was her job to understand what the humans were saying to each other. But she found herself reading personal messages that painted a very different picture than what the Council believed. She read letters from human parents to their children, telling them to be brave and take care of each other. She intercepted recordings of human scientists sharing their discoveries freely with others, even as death approached. She listened to human music that expressed emotions she didn't know existed. The chaos in human thoughts wasn't just random noise, Kiranel realized. It was the sound of minds that could think in ways no other species could imagine. Where Zephyrians valued harmony and order, humans valued change and growth. During one attack on a human research vessel, Kiranel was assigned to scan their computer systems for intelligence. She found something that made her hands shake as she read it. The humans had been studying a plague that was killing plant life on one of their agricultural worlds. Their chaotic thinking had led them to a solution that no ordered mind would have considered. They had mixed genetics from 6 different species to create a new type of plant that could resist the disease. This saved millions of lives, Kiranel whispered as she read the research notes. She looked around the bridge where her fellow Zephyrians worked in perfect harmony, following orders without question. For the first time in her life, she wondered if perfect order was actually perfect at all. That night, as the fleet prepared to attack a human colony ship carrying 2,000 refugees, Kiranel made her first act of rebellion. She accessed the tactical computer and introduced a small error into the targeting system. When the attack began, the main weapons array fired slightly off target, missing the human ship's engine core. The damage was still severe, but it gave the humans time to activate their emergency systems and jump to hyperspace. Sensor malfunction, the weapons officer reported. The humans escaped. Texara was angry, but she accepted the technical failure as just bad luck. She had no reason to suspect that her most trusted student had deliberately saved enemy lives. As Kiranel returned to her quarters, she realized that something fundamental had changed inside her. She could no longer see humans as a plague to be eliminated. Their chaos was different from Zephyrian harmony, but that didn't make it evil. She had seen human parents sacrifice themselves for their children, just as Zephyrian parents would. She had seen human scientists work to save lives rather than take them. She had heard human voices singing together in ways that created beauty from discord. The hunting fleet continued its work, but now they carried a secret passenger. Kiranel no longer served the Zephyrian Empire with a clear conscience. Every day she had to choose between loyalty to her people and loyalty to something larger than species loyalty. She didn't know it yet, but those choices would soon force her to become something that no Zephyrian had ever been before, a traitor to her own kind. War Commander Texara stood before a massive holographic display showing the neural cleanser construction facility floating in the dark space between star systems. The weapon was enormous, larger than most space stations, and its crystal surfaces pulsed with deadly energy that could reach across light years. The device will be ready for deployment in 7 days, reported Chief Engineer Maltar. Once activated, it will send neural disruption waves through hyperspace to every star system within 1,000 light-years. Texara nodded with satisfaction. And it will only affect human neural patterns? Precisely. Other species will feel nothing more than a slight headache, but any human mind caught in the wave will simply stop working. Kiranel stood at her usual position near the back of the command center, but inside she was screaming. The neural cleanser would kill every human in this part of the galaxy instantly. Men, women, children, everyone would die in a few seconds of unimaginable agony. The High Council has approved final deployment, Texara continued. We will test the weapon on the human colony at Ross 128, then activate it at full power. Kiranel felt her skin turn pale as she calculated the numbers. Ross 128 had a population of nearly 1 million humans. They would all die just to test the weapon before the main genocide began. After the briefing ended, Kiranel walked slowly back to her quarters, her mind racing with desperate plans. She had been feeding information to human resistance cells for months, but this was beyond anything small acts of sabotage could stop. She needed to steal the complete technical specifications for the neural cleanser, along with its location and the timeline for deployment. But that information was stored in the most secure computer system on Thexara's flagship, accessible only to senior command staff. As she entered her quarters, Kiranel found her mentor waiting for her. "Sit down, young one," Thexara said. Her skin showed the deep red patterns that indicated she was deeply troubled. "We need to talk." Kiranel sat carefully, trying to keep her emotional state hidden. But Thexara was an experienced warrior who had learned to read the subtle signs that indicated deception. "There have been too many intelligence leaks," Thexara said. "Too many times the humans have known exactly when and where we would attack. Someone with access to our planning sessions has been helping them." "That is disturbing news, Commander," Kiranel replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Yes, it is." Thexara leaned forward. "I have been reviewing the pattern of leaks, and they all have one thing in common. They involve operations where you had access to the tactical data." Kiranel's heart felt like it stopped beating, but she had learned to lie by studying human behavior. "Are you suggesting that I am the traitor, Commander?" "I am asking you directly," Thexara said. "Have you been providing intelligence to human resistance forces?" For a moment, Kiranel considered telling the truth. Thexara had been like a parent to her, teaching her everything she knew about warfare and leadership. But then she thought about the 1 million humans who would die at Ross 128, and the billions more who would die when the neural cleanser reached full power. "I would never betray our people," Kiranel lied. "You have trained me too well for that." Thexara studied her student's face for a long moment. Then her skin returned to its normal silver color. "I believe you. But I also believe someone on this ship is feeding information to the humans. I want you to help me find out who." "Of course, Commander," Kiranel said. "What do you need me to do?" "Tomorrow night I'm going to announce a fake operation to my senior staff. Different versions of the plan will be given to different officers. Whichever version the humans receive will tell us who the traitor is." Kiranel realized she was trapped. If she didn't act tomorrow night, the trap would expose her and she would never get another chance to steal the neural cleanser data. But if she triggered the trap, she would be caught and executed. That night, Kiranel lay in her bed staring at the ceiling of her quarters. She had spent her entire life serving the Zephyrian Empire, believing that their way of harmony and order was the only right way to live. But months of studying humans had shown her that there were other ways to exist, other ways to think and feel and create. She thought about the human concept of sacrifice. They had a saying, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." Humans regularly died to protect people they barely knew, simply because they believed all life was valuable. The next evening, Thexara gathered her senior officers for the tactical briefing. Kiranel sat with the other junior staff listening as her mentor outlined 3 different versions of an attack plan. Each version was given to specific officers, and each contained unique details that would identify the source of any leak. After the briefing, Kiranel waited until the ship entered its night cycle, and most of the crew was asleep. Then she made her way through the corridors to Thexara's private command center. The security system recognized her authorization codes. She was, after all, the war commander's most trusted aide. But accessing the neural cleanser files required a higher level of clearance that she didn't have. Kiranel sat at the computer terminal and tried to remember everything she had learned about human problem-solving techniques. Instead of trying to break through the security system directly, she looked for an indirect approach. She accessed the maintenance logs for the ship's computer systems and found what she was looking for: a diagnostic routine that temporarily elevated user privileges. For system testing, it was a backdoor that most Zephyrians would never think to use. But human unpredictability had taught her to think creatively. The diagnostic routine worked, and suddenly she had access to files that revealed the full scope of the neural cleanser project. The weapon was even more terrible than she had imagined. It could be reconfigured to target any species with specific neural patterns, making it the ultimate tool for galactic genocide. As she downloaded the files, Kiranel heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Someone was coming toward the command center. She quickly copied the data to a portable storage device and closed the computer files. But the footsteps were getting closer. There was no time to escape without being seen. The door opened, and Thexara entered, carrying a cup of the hot drink that helped her sleep. When she saw Kiranel at the computer terminal, her skin immediately turned bright red. "What are you doing here?" Thexara demanded. Kiranel stood slowly, the stolen data device hidden in her palm. "I couldn't sleep, Commander. I was reviewing the tactical reports from today's briefing. Those reports are not stored on my personal computer," Thexara said. "They are in the general database." Kiranel realized there was no point in lying anymore. "I know." "You are the traitor," Thexara said. It was not a question. "Yes." For a long moment, mentor and student stared at each other across the command center. Thexara's hand moved slowly toward the weapon at her side. "How long?" she asked. "Months," Kiranel replied. "Since I first started studying human communications and learned that they are not the monsters you believe them to be. They are a plague that will destroy galactic civilization. They are people who love their families and create beautiful things and solve problems that ordered minds cannot even imagine," Kiranel said. "They are different from us, but that does not make them evil." Thexara drew her weapon, a crystal device that could stun or kill depending on the setting. "You have been infected by their chaos. You are no longer Zephyrian." "You are right," Kiranel said. "I am no longer willing to commit genocide for the sake of order." The two warriors faced each other in the command center, teacher and student, with the weight of two civilizations hanging in the balance. One of them believed in the purity of harmony and the necessity of eliminating chaos. The other had learned that diversity was strength, and that sometimes the greatest loyalty required the greatest betrayal. The weapon in Thexara's hand began to glow as she prepared to fire. Kiranel closed her eyes and thought about all the human voices she had heard singing together in harmonies that somehow created beauty from discord. Then she moved. Commander Alex Turner crouched behind the twisted metal remains of what used to be a communication tower on the colony world of Haven 3. His team of 12 resistance fighters waited in the shadows as a Zephyrian patrol ship passed overhead, its crystal hull gleaming in the pale morning light. "They're getting better at finding us," whispered Maria Santos, the team's engineer. Her dark hair was covered with dust from the collapsed buildings around them. "That's the third patrol in 2 hours." Alex nodded grimly. It had been 6 months since the Zephyrian hunting fleets had appeared throughout human space, and the war was not going well for humanity. Entire colonies had been wiped out, and the survivors were forced to hide like animals in the ruins of their own worlds. "Chris, what's the situation with the sensor array?" Alex asked his tactical expert. Chris Johnson checked his portable scanner. "Still down, but I think I can get it working if we can find some replacement parts from the old research station." Alex looked at his team. They were tired, hungry, and running low on supplies, but they hadn't given up. That was the thing about humans that the aliens didn't understand. The worse things got, the more stubborn humans became. "All right, we move. At nightfall," Alex decided. "Maria, you and Chris go for the research station. The rest of us will create a distraction on the other side of the settlement." As darkness fell, the team split up and moved through the ruins. Haven 3 had been a thriving colony of 50,000 people just a year ago. Now it was a graveyard of broken buildings and empty streets. The Zephyrians had been thorough in their destruction. Alex led his distraction team toward the old spaceport, where a damaged Zephyrian scout ship had been left behind after their last attack. If they could create enough noise and light, it might draw attention away from Maria and Chris. As they approached the spaceport, Alex's communicator crackled with an incoming signal. but it wasn't from his team. "Human resistance fighters," said, a voice that sounded familiar but different. "Do not attack the scout ship. I am inside and wish to help you." Alex froze. He recognized the musical quality of the voice from the intelligence briefings they had received about Zephyrian communication patterns. "It's a trap," whispered Kelly Price, one of his fighters. "Has to be." But something about the voice made Alex hesitate. There was something in it that sounded almost afraid. "If you are Zephyrian, why would you want to help us?" Alex spoke into his communicator. "Because I have learned that my people are wrong about yours," the voice replied. "I have been watching you fight. You do not act like a plague or a disease. You act like people trying to protect their families." Alex motioned for his team to spread out and surround the scout ship, but he continued talking. "What's your name?" I'm called Kira Nell. I'm a scout and translator for War Commander Thexara's hunting fleet. But I no longer wish to hunt you." Inside the damaged scout ship, Kira Nell waited nervously for the humans to respond. She had been planning this moment for weeks, ever since she had started secretly helping human ships escape from Zephyrian attacks. She had been studying human communication intercepts when she learned about the resistance cell on Haven 3. These humans had been fighting back against impossible odds for months, using tactics that no Zephyrian military computer could predict. But what impressed her most was not their fighting skill. It was how they took care of each other. In every intercepted message, humans asked about the safety of their friends and family before anything else. Even in the middle of battle, they risked their lives to save wounded comrades. "How do we know? You're telling the truth?" the human leader asked. Kira Nell had prepared for this question. She activated her ship's computer and began transmitting data to the human communicator. "I am sending you the location and timing of the next Zephyrian attack in this sector," she said. 3 ships will arrive tomorrow at dawn to search the northern settlement ruins. If you are not there, they will find nothing." Alex stared at his communicator screen as detailed tactical information appeared. Ship types, weapons configurations, search patterns, everything his resistance cell would need to avoid the attack. "Why are you doing this?" Alex asked. "Because I have learned something about chaos," Kira Nell replied. "Your human chaos is not a disease. It is a gift. You think of solutions that no ordered mind could imagine. You create beauty from discord. You find hope where logic says there should be none." Over the next hour, Kira Nell emerged from the scout ship and met with Alex's team face to face. The humans were cautious at first, keeping their weapons ready, but they listened as she explained what she had learned about her own people. "The Zephyrian Empire has existed for 10,000 years, she said. "In all that time, we have had peace and order. But we have also had no growth, no change, no new ideas. We are perfect, and therefore, we are dying." Maria Santos, who had returned from the successful supply mission, studied the alien with professional curiosity. "You're saying your people are too organized?" "We think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, make the same decisions," Kira Nell explained. "When a problem has no obvious solution, we cannot solve it because we cannot think differently. You humans face the same problem and find 20 different answers, then combine them into something entirely new." Chris Johnson looked at the tactical data Kira Nell had provided. "This intelligence is incredibly detailed. How many ships could we save if we act on this information?" "The hunting fleet is planning a major offensive against your colony ships in the Centauri system," Kira Nell said. "If you could warn them, thousands of lives could be saved." Alex felt his heart racing. "How many people are we talking about?" 47,000 civilians on 3 colony ships, Kira Nell replied. "They will be trapped between 2 hunting groups with no chance of escape. Unless they know it's coming," Alex realized. For the next 3 days, Kira Nell worked with the Lee resistance cell to plan a warning operation. She provided communication codes that would let them contact the colony ships without being detected by Zephyrian sensors. But she also shared something more valuable: knowledge about how Zephyrian tactical computers worked. They were incredibly sophisticated but relied on predicting enemy behavior based on logical patterns. Your human unpredictability is actually a weapon, she explained to Alex. When you attack from multiple directions with no coordinated plan, our computers cannot calculate your next move. Organized chaos, Alex said with a smile. I like it. The warning operation was a success. The colony ships received the intelligence and changed course before the Zephyrian hunting groups could trap them. Thousands of human lives were saved, but the operation also marked the end of Kiranel's double life. When the hunting fleet arrived, to find empty space where the colony ships should have been, War Commander Thexara knew there had been a security breach. Someone gave the humans advance warning. Thexara announced to her senior officers. There is a traitor among us. Kiranel maintained her composure during the investigation, but she knew it was only a matter of time before she was discovered. She had to make a choice. Return to her old life of hunting humans or commit fully to helping them. That night, she accessed the fleet's main computer and downloaded every piece of tactical information she could find. Ship deployments, weapon, specifications, and most importantly, intelligence about something called the Neural Cleanser Project. As she read the classified files, Kiranel's skin turned white with shock. The Neural Cleanser was not just a weapon, it was a device that could sterilize entire star systems of human neural patterns. It would kill every human in the galaxy while leaving other species untouched. The High Council wasn't just planning to hunt down humans one ship at a time. They were planning complete genocide on a scale that would make the current war look like a minor skirmish. Kiranel realized that her small acts of rebellion were no longer enough. If she wanted to save humanity, she would have to become something that no Zephyrian had ever been before, a complete traitor to her own species. As she prepared to steal a scout ship and defect to the humans, Kiranel thought about everything she had learned from studying human communications. They had a phrase for what she was about to do: burning bridges. Soon there would be no going back. She would be an enemy of her own people, hunted by the same forces she had once served. But she had also learned another human concept: doing the right thing even when it cost everything. The galaxy was about to discover that chaos could be stronger than order, and that sometimes betrayal was the highest form of loyalty. The crystal weapon fired just as Kiranel dove to the side, the energy beam missing her by inches and striking the wall behind her. She rolled across the floor and came up near the emergency controls, while Thexara adjusted her aim for a second. Shot. You were like a daughter to me, Thexara said, her voice filled with pain. How could you betray everything we believe in? Because I learned that believing in something doesn't make it right, Kiranel replied. She activated the emergency lighting, plunging the command center into darkness except for the red warning lights. In the dim red glow, the two Zephyrians fought with the desperate intensity of people who knew that everything they cared about was at stake. Thexara was larger and stronger, but Kiranel was younger and faster. More importantly, she had learned from studying human tactics to fight unpredictably. The battle ended when Kiranel managed to get behind her mentor and use a nerve pinch that rendered Thexara unconscious. As her teacher fell to the floor, Kiranel felt tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered, but I cannot let you kill them all. She dragged Thexara to the emergency stasis pod in the corner of the command center and activated it. Her mentor would be unconscious for several hours, giving Kiranel time to escape. But as she turned to leave, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The combat had triggered automatic security systems, and within moments the entire crew would be searching for the intruder. Kiranel ran through the corridors toward the shuttle bay, carrying the stolen data about the neural cleanser. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of armed security teams beginning their search. She reached the shuttle bay and quickly prepared one of the small scout ships for emergency launch. As the engines warmed up, the bay doors began to open, but security teams were already entering from the main corridor. Stop, shouted the team leader. By order of the High Council, you are under arrest for treason. Kiranel's scout ship lifted, off just as the security teams opened fire. Energy beams struck the shuttle's shields, but she managed to escape through the bay doors and into open space. As she flew away from the Zephyrian fleet, Kiranel set course for Titan, one of Saturn's moons where intelligence reports indicated there was a hidden human resistance base. But her ship had been damaged in the escape, and she wasn't sure she would make it. Behind her, the entire Zephyrian hunting fleet was coming to life. Warships launched in pursuit while others spread out to cut off her escape routes. She was one small scout ship against the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. But Kiranel had learned something important from studying humans. Sometimes impossible situations required impossible solutions. Instead of trying to outrun the pursuit ships, she flew directly toward the gas giant Jupiter. The massive planet's radiation and magnetic fields would interfere with Zephyrian sensors, but they would also damage her ship's systems. As she entered Jupiter's outer atmosphere, her ship began shaking violently. Warning lights flashed as the radiation started overloading her equipment. But the pursuing ships had to break off their chase rather than risk destruction in the planet's deadly environment. Kiranel used Jupiter's gravitational field to slingshot toward Saturn, her damaged ship barely holding together as she crossed the solar system. She had to make emergency repairs twice during the journey, working frantically while drifting in the cold darkness of space. When she finally reached Titan, her ship was barely functional, and she was close to unconsciousness from radiation poisoning. She managed to land in a crater near the coordinates where intelligence reports suggested the human base might be located. As she stumbled out of her crashed ship, Kiranel found herself surrounded by armed humans. They wore environmental suits adapted for Titan's harsh conditions, and their weapons were pointed directly at her. "I am Kiranel of the Zephyrian Scout Corps," she said weakly. "I have information about a weapon that will kill all humans in the galaxy. Please, you have to listen to me." Commander Alex Turner stepped forward, recognizing the voice from their previous communications. "It's her," he told his team, "the one who's been helping us." Dr. Amanda Hill, who had been working with the Resistance since escaping the initial Zephyrian attack, knelt beside the injured alien. "She's badly hurt, radiation poisoning, I think." They carried Kiranel to the underground base where human engineers had built a remarkable facility using salvage technology and creative problem-solving. As the medical team worked to save her life, Kiranel managed to give Alex the stolen data about the neural cleanser. "My God," Dr. Peter Walsh said as he studied the technical specifications. "This thing could wipe out every human in the galaxy in a matter of hours." "How long do we have?" Alex asked. "According to this timeline, they're planning to test it on Ross 128 in 3 days, Amanda said. "Then full deployment a week after that." Alex looked around at his team of engineers, scientists, and fighters. "Can we stop it?" "Not with conventional weapons," Peter replied. "But these technical specs show some interesting weaknesses. The neural cleanser relies on a central control system that coordinates the hyperspace transmission." "What are you thinking?" Alex asked. "If we could get close enough to introduce a virus into their computer system, we might be able to turn the weapon against itself." Amanda looked up from where she was treating Kiranel's injuries. "That would require getting inside their most heavily defended facility. It's suicide." "Maybe not," Alex said slowly. "Kiranel, when you're feeling better, we're going to need to know everything about Zephyrian security systems." Over the next 2 days, as Kiranel recovered from her injuries, she worked with the human resistance to plan an impossible mission. They would use a combination of stealth technology and unpredictable tactics to infiltrate the neural cleanser facility. The plan involved multiple small teams attacking from different directions, creating so much chaos that the Zephyrian defenders wouldn't be able to coordinate their response. It was exactly the kind of disorganized assault that would drive ordered minds to desperation. "It's crazy enough that it might work," Alex said after reviewing the final plan. "That's what humans do best," Kiranel replied. "You find ways to succeed when logic says you should fail." The attack began with Ben Clark, Sarah Mitchell, and Tony Rivera leading their fighter squadrons in a frontal assault on the facility's outer defenses. While the Zephyrian fleet moved to intercept them, Alex led the main infiltration team through the facility's maintenance areas. Kiranel accompanied the infiltration team, using her knowledge of Zephyrian technology to guide them through the security systems. But as they approached the central control room, they encountered unexpected resistance. Thexara was waiting for them, having anticipated that her former student would try to stop the neural cleanser deployment. the war commander had recovered from her defeat on the ship and had taken personal command of the facility's defenses. "I should have known you would come here," Thexara said as she confronted Kiranel in the control room. "Your infection with human chaos runs deeper than I thought." "It's not infection," Kiranel replied. "It's growth. It's learning that there are better ways to live than in perfect, sterile order." The final battle was fought in the heart of the Neural Cleanser facility, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Thexara fought with the disciplined skill of a master warrior, while Kiranel used everything she had learned from humans about creative thinking and unconventional tactics. In the end, it was Kiranel's willingness to sacrifice herself to protect Alex that won the battle. She threw herself between her mentor's weapon and the human commander, taking a blast that would have killed him. As Thexara hesitated in shock at her student's action, Alex managed to upload the computer virus that turned the neural cleanser's power against its own control systems. The massive weapon tore itself apart in a chain reaction that lit up the space between stars. Kiranel survived her injuries, but barely. As she recovered in a human medical facility, she learned that her sacrifice had accomplished more than just stopping one weapon. Her defection had inspired other Zephyrians to question their empire's genocidal policies. A civil war had begun among the Zephyrians, with progressive factions opposing the extermination of humanity. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would the relationship between order and chaos. 6 months later, Kiranel stood beside human leaders at a peace conference on neutral ground. She was no longer Zephyrian, but she wasn't quite human either. She had become something new, a bridge between worlds, living proof that understanding was possible between even the most different forms of consciousness. As she watched representatives from dozens of species working together to build a better galaxy, Kiranel realized that her betrayal of her own people had actually been the most loyal thing she could have done. She had saved not just humanity, but the diversity and chaos that made life worth living. The girl who had betrayed her people for humanity's sake had become something greater than either species could achieve alone, a symbol of hope that differences could be strength, and that sometimes the greatest act of loyalty was learning when to say no. The ship, UES Liberty, moved through space like a metal whale swimming in an ocean of stars. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the view screen show the third planet of the Kepler 442 system. The planet looked blue and green from space, much like Earth, but smaller. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings," said Lisa Carter from her pilot seat. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she studied the data. "There are structures down there that don't look natural." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The scanning equipment showed large shapes on the planet's surface that were too regular to be mountains or rocks. They looked like buildings but were made of some kind of crystal that reflected light in rainbow colors. "Ryan, try to send a standard greeting message," Jake told his communications officer. Ryan Brooks was young but good at his job. He had joined the crew only 6 months ago but had already proven himself reliable. "Already tried, Captain," Ryan said. "No response on any frequency we know." Dr. Amanda Hill looked up from her science station. As the ship's xenobiologist, she was always excited about the possibility of finding new life. "The atmosphere is breathable for humans," she said. "Temperature is mild. If there's intelligent life down there, we should be able to communicate, face to face." Jake thought about it for a moment. First contact with alien life was always dangerous, but it was also why they were out here in space. "Take us down slowly, Lisa. Find a good landing spot about 5 kilometers from the nearest structure." The Liberty descended through the planet's atmosphere. The sky was a pale purple color, and 2 small moons hung in the daytime sky. As they got closer, the crystal structures became more impressive. They were tall towers that seemed to grow from the ground like trees, but they were clearly made by intelligent beings. "Captain," Ryan said suddenly, his voice excited, "I'm getting a signal. It's not on any normal frequency, but the computer is translating it somehow." "Put it through," Jake ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect English but with a strange musical quality. "Unknown vessel, you will land at the coordinates we are sending. You will come alone and unarmed. We wish to speak with you." Jake looked at his crew. "Well, that's direct. Lisa, did you get those coordinates? Yes, Captain, it's a flat area near the biggest crystal tower. Take us down. The Liberty landed with a soft thud on purple grass that swayed in a gentle breeze. Jake prepared to leave the ship, but Amanda stepped forward. Captain, I should come with you. If we're making first contact, having a xenobiologist present could be important. Jake nodded. All right, but we go armed just in case. Ryan, keep the ship ready for a quick takeoff. Jake and Amanda walked down the ship's ramp and onto the alien world. The air smelled like flowers and something else they couldn't identify. The crystal towers were even more beautiful up close, seeming to sing in harmony with each other as the wind passed through them. They walked toward the nearest tower and found an opening that looked like a doorway. As they approached, several figures came out to meet them. The aliens were tall and thin, almost fragile-looking. Their skin changed color slowly from blue to green to silver as they moved. They had large eyes that seemed to glow with their own light, and their movements were graceful like dancers. One of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was the same musical tone they had heard on the ship. I am Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Council. You are the humans we have heard about in distant star songs. Jake tried to hide his surprise that the alien knew about humans. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. This is Dr. Amanda Hill. We come in peace. Peace. Veltar repeated the word, as if tasting it. An interesting concept. We must discuss this. Another alien appeared, younger looking than Veltar. Her skin was more silver than the others, and her eyes held what looked like curiosity. This is Kiranel, Veltar said. She will help translate concepts that do not easily pass between our minds and yours. Kiranel stepped closer to the humans. When she spoke, her voice was softer than Veltar's. Your thoughts are very loud, she said, and very chaotic. We can hear them even though you do not send them to us. Amanda looked fascinated. You're telepathic, you can read our minds. Not read, Kiranel said. More like hearing noise from another room. Your thoughts crash together like waves in a storm. It is unusual. Veltar's skin shifted to a darker color. It is disturbing. Your mental chaos could spread to others. This is why we must speak. For the next 2 hours they talked. The humans learned that the Zephyrians had a vast empire spanning many star systems. They communicated telepathically and valued harmony and order above all things. Their society was peaceful because everyone could sense what others were thinking and feeling. But humans were different. Human thoughts were unpredictable, jumping from idea to idea without clear patterns. To the Zephyrians, this mental chaos was frightening. You could infect others, Veltar explained. Beings who come into contact with humans might lose their ability to maintain mental harmony. This could destroy civilizations. Jake tried to explain that humans weren't dangerous, that their unpredictability was actually helpful for solving problems and creating new ideas, but he could see that Veltar was not convinced. Kiranel listened to everything, her skin shifting colors rapidly as she processed the conversation. She seemed more interested than afraid when Jake described human creativity and imagination. Your chaos creates new things, she said slowly, like storms that bring rain to make plants grow. But Veltar cut off the discussion. The Council has made its decision. Humans represent a cognitive plague that threatens galactic civilization. You must be contained. What does that mean? Amanda asked, though she was afraid she already knew. It means your species will not be allowed to spread beyond your home system. Ships will be stationed to prevent any human vessel from leaving. Jake felt his heart sink. And if we refuse to accept this containment? Veltar's skin turned a deep red color. Then you will be eliminated before you can spread your mental infection. The meeting ended badly. As Jake and Amanda walked back to their ship, Kiranel followed them part way. I am sorry, she said quietly. Veltar speaks for the Council, but not all Zephyrians agree. Some of us find your chaos interesting. Jake looked back at her. What do you think will happen now? The fleet will come, she said. You should leave this place quickly. As the Liberty lifted off from the planet, Jake watched the crystal towers grow smaller below them. He had hoped for peaceful first contact, but instead they had made an enemy of a powerful alien empire. "Get me a connection." "To Earth Command," he told Ryan. "They need to know that humanity just made its first alien enemies."